So just come here and say post service is equals to the retrofit we created, the retrofit instance we created here. So just come here and say retrofit dot create post service. And as you can see, it's referencing this interface. So Retrofit will take this interface and implement it. So it will do majority of the work for you. So yeah, so in the implementation is already handled by Retrofit here. Cool. So yeah, basically that's all you have to do to create your Retrofit instance and create a way for you to implement your repository interface here, the service interface here for getting post and all of this. Yeah, so next thing now is we're going to reference this post service to get our post. So come here and say posts service. So import post service dot get post. And we want to do one thing. So we want to know if the response is successful or not. So if it's successful, we want to send a success result. If it's not, we are sending an error result. So come here and say response dot is successful and say resource dot success. And if you remember, our resource takes in data. So in our case, it will return a success result and the data. So in our case, it's a list of posts. So come here and say response. And for you to get the list of posts, you have to do dot body. So this will get the list of response, the list of posts from the body. And in case it's an error, we want to return an error here. And in our case, we want to return also the message why the request was not successful. So just say response.message. So this will return just a message here, just an error message in our case. Yeah, so that's all you have to do in the try block. So in case something wrong goes here, it will jump to the catch block. And for you to handle that, we're just going to copy what we had here, but you're going to change something here. So inside of the catch, we're not expecting a response, but we have this exception, which will have the error message of why the request was not successful. So come here and say message, exception.message. So this will give us the message, the error message. Then in case the message, so in case this is null, we want to return like our custom error message. So we're going to say here an error occurred. So I'm just going to use Gemini for that completion. So yeah, so basically that's all you have to do. And now you'll go to a view model. So just come here to your view model. So the view model is a place where to like manage your data, your state, and update it, and also emit it to the UI for your UI to observe, and the users can see the data in their screens. So it's just like a state holder for holding your data rather than having it in your main screen. Cool. So I already implemented some function here just to save on time. So first thing you'll have to do is import your posts repository here. So this is the repository we just had here. So we're just using it here in our repository, in our view model, I mean. Then we have this post UI state, which has a mutable state flow and an immutable one. So the mutable one is what we are going to update in our view model, and this one is what the screen will see. And yeah, so this is what the screen will see. Yeah. Then we have these events. So this is how we are going to send error messages to our screens. So that's it. So basically, since this function get post is a suspend, you have to put this inside the context. coroutine context. And since we are in a view model, we are going to use what is provided by the view model. So the view model scope.launch. And first thing we have to do is we want to set loading to true so that we can show like a loading circular indicator here. Then in case there's an error, we are setting error to empty here. Then we are getting the post. So post repository, then get post. So what we have here, so it will return a resource and a list of posts. Then the result is just a resource of if it's either success. As you can see, if it's either success or an error. So either of those two. So if it's a success, we want to set loading to false. So we want to hide that circular indicator. Then we want to update the list of posts with the result we have gotten from the server. So in our case, result.data, this is just the list of posts, but in case it's empty or null, we just put an empty list there. Cool. And in case the resource is an error, so in case the result comes back as an error, we are setting loading to false and putting the error message here. So this is the error message we are getting from the server. But in case it's also null, just for precaution, you're just setting something went wrong. Please try again. And finally, we want to show this error message to our users. So for you to do that, you have to send this event to your screen so that the user can see this, the reason why this error, the requests didn't finish successfully. Yeah, basically, that's all you have to do. And you have to call this function somewhere. So you can call it in your screen, so in your main activity. But for my case, I decided to call this in the initialization block of the view model. So once this view model is created, it will call this get post. So yeah. So if you come to a main activity, so I already created these components already just for time purposes. So in our in our main activity, we are referencing our view model here. So you're getting this instance of our view model here. Then inside of our set content, so this is where our screen starts. We are listening, we are observing this state. So if you remember, this state holds everything that our screen will show. So the loading, the list of posts, the error messages, and everything that we'll see in the next few minutes. So yeah, so we are going to get the posts. We are listening for the state. So we are collecting the state here. And so this is how we are going to show the snack bar to our users. So in case, so we are inside our launch effect, we are saying viewModel.eventFlow.collect so that we can listen for these events. And if the event is a snack bar event, we are showing this snack bar since we are referencing this state here for the snack bar. Yeah, so this is how we are showing the error messages in form of a snack bar. Then, yeah, so this is just a scaffold. It has the snack bar. It has this floating action button, which we'll see in a minute. It has this top-up bar. And yeah, so inside here, if it's loading, we are showing this circular indicator here. So that loading thing. And if it's not loading and if it's an error message, so in case it has finished loading and there's an error message, we are going to show like an error message to the user here also. And finally, if I'm going to skip this for now, I'll explain it later. So if you go to the list, so where our posts are going to be listed. So if it's not loading and the post list is not empty, so if it's successful and error message is empty, we are going to show this list of posts. So this is a text field for showing for searching. So this is what we have here. And this is the post component. So this is where we're going to iterate over these posts and show the list of posts here. So we have our post component here. So this is just the CRUD. So this is the CRUD we have here. Let me just show you. So this is the CRUD that will hold. I'm not sure if you can see. Let me just expand. So this is the CRUD that will show the post ID, post title, and post description. Yeah, so yeah, basically that's it. So where was I? Let me go back. Yeah, so in the lazy column, so we are just listening for this state. So this is how we are listing the list of posts. So we are using items, iterating over through these posts and setting each post to this post component. So to this component here. So this is, so what we have here is just what we have here inside our preview. Yeah, so yeah, I think we can run and see what we have. Before I do that, let me check. Okay. Yeah, so let's run and see what we have. And fingers crossed, it works. Hopefully. Awesome. So as you can see, there was a loading state there, and we have a list of posts here. Yeah, so basically that's it. So I'm just going to work on this part. So we are going to get the list of, we're going to get the post based on the ID. So similar thing to what we did here. So you're just going to come here and say get. So this is just a get method. Similar relative URL here. But since you are getting the post by ID, you have to prepend this in your path. So you have to put these curly brackets like this here. And for you to replace this ID at runtime, Gemini already suggested this. So you're just going to use this. So for you to replace this ID at runtime, you have to put this path annotation with the ID. So this ID must match what you have here, and it will replace the ID at runtime. And we are expecting a post, so just one post, but we are going to wrap it inside a response. And yeah, basically that's it. And if you go to a repository, we're just going to do similar thing here. So I'm just going to copy what we had here, and we're going to change a few things. So this expects a post. So we are going to use this, what we had here. So get post ID. So just copy this, put it here. It expects an ID. Yeah, so basically, yeah, that's it. And since this is since this request is made in the IO thread, you have to suspend this function here. Yeah, and basically that's all you have to do. And I'm not sure why this is not, why is this? Okay, we'll get to that in a few. So get post by ID. Yeah, so it's the same concept as what is being done up above here when getting the post, updating the state if it's a success. If the result data is not null, we are returning this list as this post as a list. In case it's null, we're just returning the existing list. Yeah, so similar thing we did up there. Okay, I think it's an issue with the ID. Yeah, so basically that's all you have to do. So if we come to our main activity, so let me just close all of this. If you come to our main activity, So this is where we're going to do our search. So the search is done here. So we are setting the search query here. So what the users typed on the keyboard, and when the user searches, so this is where we are handling the search. So if the search query is not empty, we are returning, we are getting the post by ID. So what we had here. Cool. And in case somebody hasn't entered something on the search box, we're just saying post ID is required. Cool. So I'm not sure why this is. Let me just remove this and come here. Okay, seems there's an issue with the ID, but let me try and run. Cool. Yeah, so we're going to try and search. So let me search by ID here. So let me just search by 56. So as you can see, it's returning the post by ID. So by 6. Yeah, so it's working. So yeah, so that's searching by returning a list by ID. So the post by the ID of this post. So next one is creating a post. So entering a post title, post body, and submitting it. So let's work on that. So first thing, come to your post service, and for you to create a post in your server, you have to use posts and put the relative base, your relative path for this. So in our case, it's just posts, and it's expecting a body. So since you are creating like a body here, so this is just like a, let me just open. So this is just a body. So the title, the body, and everything inside of it will be wrapped inside a body. So for you to do that, you have to use this annotation body here and put in post. So this post, we are not going to use the post one, we're just going to use the post body here. Not sure why it's not, let me just come and see the reason why. Okay, so it seems it's just an issue with the ID. So after that, it will return the response. So it will return the post which was created. So to return a post which was created. Cool. And after that, come back to our repository. Similar thing to what we did here. I'm just going to copy what we had here. And so as you can see, it's coming with the title and the body. So we're going to come here and say body is equals to post body, which expects the body title and user ID. So in our case, we don't have the user ID, but we're just going to put like a random one here. So maybe I'm going to say maybe 34. I'm going to remove this response here, and I'm going to say, let me just put it there. So just come here and say create post. It will take in the post. Yeah, I think it was the post. Yeah, post. And this is the post. So yeah, so I think that's all you have to do. And yeah, so you're going to create the posts. So if you come to a view model, so you've worked on the get post by ID. So the create post also works similar to that. If it's a success, the data is not equal to null, so the post body is not equal to null. it will put the post that was created inside of a list, and in case it's null, it will just return whatever was there. And after that, it will show the user that the post was created successfully. Cool. Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's it. So I already handled these events here. So if we come to our scaffold, so this is the action bar that will show this dialog here. So let me just open that. Yeah, so this is the action bar. When clicked, it will show this dialog here. So that's what it's doing here. And yeah, so let's run the app and see if we can create a post. Okay, so it seems post body. Let me close the project and open again. Terminate. Okay, let me just copy this. Come here to our post service and just import it manually here. Dot post body. Yeah, like that. Yeah, so it's working. Okay. So let's run. Yeah, so we should be able to create a post. So if we click this action bar, floating action bar here, we're going to enter a title here, say my late night testing. And if you submit, yeah, so the post is created successfully. So that's how the post works. So the post is the create part of the CRUD operation. So we are creating this data in our server. Cool. The next one now is updating data fully. So for updating data fully, you have to use the put method and pass in.
Sorry, Breens, if I can interrupt you briefly. I wanted to remind everyone who has joined that if you have a question, please feel free to ask through the, how do I call that? Through the messaging symbol, through the chat platform. So if you have any question, usiogope kuuliza kindly. Any question. Sawa, asante, tunaendelea.
Okay. Cool. And yeah, so for you to update, so what do I mean by updating the post fully? So let's say if you have this post here and you want to maybe update the title and the description. So on the UI, the user will just click update fully and they'll enter their title and the body. So for you to update your post fully, the recommended way is using put method. Yeah. So come here and say post, say in small letters. So this is the relative URL where we can update this post. And for you to update maybe this particular note, you have to pass in the ID of this note. And for you to do that, you have to append your ID here inside of this URL. So this is just a placeholder for now. But once you run your application, you want to automatically update this ID at runtime. So for you to do that, you have to come here and say path. So path means it will just come to your relative URL and find this placeholder, and it will replace what you've sent, and it will replace it here. Cool. And yeah, so come here and say ID and ID. So this is what you've passed, and it will be automatically replaced at runtime in this URL here. Yeah, so basically that's it, and we are expecting a post. So this is the updated post, so we are expecting that back. So come here and say, I'm wrapping this inside the response, since I want to know if this request is successful or not. Cool. And yeah, basically that's it. And what you have to do is come back to the repository. And let me close this. So it's quite something similar to what we did here. So if you followed how we are getting the post, we are putting it inside of a try and catch block. And if it's a successful, we are sending a result of success. If it's not, we are sending a result of an error with the error message. So it's just yeah, something similar to what we did in the above functions for creating posts, getting post by ID, and getting posts. So I'm just going to replace here with what we had above there and change a few things. So I'm going to say update post fully, and it takes in an ID. So it takes in an ID here. And yeah, so there's one thing I missed here. Since we are updating the post fully, you have to pass in the body. So like the post you are updating. So you have to pass in the post you are updating here and come here and say post body. And yeah, so that's it. So pass in the ID of the post you want to update and pass in the post that you've updated. So maybe the description, the title. Yeah, that's it. So everything remains the same. And if we come back to our view model, so there's this update post fully. It will set loading to true. So it will get the selected post. So so how does the app know the selected post? So once you click on this icon here, so this vertical more information icon. So in the code, I'm just using this function called set selected post. So once you click here, I'm calling this function here with the posts that you just clicked and updating the selected post to what you just clicked and hiding this menu here. So if you can see, I'm clicking and showing this menu here. So once you click on this, I'm just updating the state here to know that this is the post that you want to update. Yeah, so that's it. So if we go back to updating the post fully, I'm getting the selected post. So this one which I've just clicked here, I'm setting the title to the updated post title. So if we click update full, if we start typing on this title is saved on this state. So what we have here will be saved here. And once you click update, I'm just taking what you have on this title here, so what you've typed here, and the body that you've typed here. So that's what I'm just doing. And after that, the post body requires the user ID. So the user ID is just the user who is updating this post. And we are getting that by the selected post and getting the user ID. Then after that, the updated post, this endpoint requires, if we come back here, it requires the ID of the post. So there's a difference. The user ID is just the user. The ID is the ID of the post. Yeah. So I'm setting the ID here so that it can come to the repository, then it will be sent to this, then it will come to this endpoint here once it's called. Then I'm passing the body here. So the body we just created here. So the title, the new title, the new body, we just typed in here. Then once we click submit, we are calling this repository function to update the post fully. And if it's a success, and the post body is not null, I'm just putting the post inside of a list. And in case it's null, I'm just returning whatever was there. And I'm showing the user that the post was updated successfully. If it's an error, setting all of this here. So just the error message here, hiding the dialog and the actions menu, and showing the user that there's something that went wrong when updating the post. Yeah, so if you run the app, we should be able to update the posts. So let's click on here, update fully. Let me come and say update fully title and update full body. So we should see this post when we update it. Yeah, so as you can see, we've updated the title and the body of the item we clicked. So let's try with the number 2. So let's try and update the title and the body just one time. So I'm going to say testing 1, 2, 3, update, and it's updated successfully. Yeah, so that's how the that's how the update method works for you to update a resource in your server. So the put updates everything, like everything in the body. But in case you want to update like a single field, let's say you want to only update the title, the recommended method is patch, because you want to patch like just one section of maybe of your resource or your body. So similar thing here, just come and copy what we had here. It uses the same relative URL here. And similar thing that we did here when updating the post fully, just copy this and put it here. So it will take in the ID, it will be replaced at runtime, and it will take in the body. So the body of either you want to update the title or the description of the post. And yeah, it will return the post that was partially updated. So post, and it will return a response. So the response is for us to know if the request was successful or not. Yeah, so after that, we come back again to our repository. I'm just going to copy what we had here since it's just the same concept, but we are just going to update the post partially. So we're just going to use this endpoint we just created here. So the patch one. Yeah, so that's it. And yeah, so in case it's successful, we're returning a success with the body that was updated, and else we are returning an error with the message. And in case something went wrong here, we are returning an error with the exception message. So that's it. So if you come to a view model, so there's this function to update post partially. So we are setting loading to true so that we can show that loading indicator, and selected posts. So if you remember, selected post, how does the app know that this is the post that is supposed to be partially updated? So if you select this vertical more information icon, setting the app is setting the post that is supposed to be updated partially. Then after that, after getting the selected post, once you click update partially and start updating maybe the title or the body, it will, these values are saved in the view model, in the UI state of this screen. And this is what we are reading here. So the updated partially title. So once the user starts typing, this is the new title, and also the body, similar thing there. And for partially updating your post, the user ID is not required, because you're just updating like a single place, or the title, or maybe the body, or both. Yeah, so after that, once you click update, this is where we are calling this function, the repository function, which we were there a minute ago, and passing in the ID and the body. So we are passing in the ID. So the ID is for the selected posts dot ID, and passing in the body. So the body which we created here. If it's a success, you are doing this similar thing here. It's returning a result, which is just the body that has been partially updated. We are putting it inside of a list, and in case maybe the server didn't return the body, the post that was updated partially, we're just returning what was already there. We are setting this to an empty string, so we're setting this. So once we click update, we want to make this field empty. So we want to make this field like empty once we click update. Also similar thing to the body. And we also want to hide this dialog. So that's why I'm saying show update post partially dialog false. And also the action menu. So the action menu is just this menu here to click to update partially or fully. Then after that, we're just showing the user a message that the post partially updated successfully. In case of an error, we are showing an error to the user here. So that's what we are doing here. So nothing changes on the UI. So if we run the application, we should be able to partially update the post. So let's update this one. So update partially. So let me say partial update test title. Copy this. Okay, update body partial test. Yeah, so we should be able to update this. So we clicked on this number 4 post. So it should be updated partially. Yeah, and as you can see, post partially updated successfully. And we have our new title here and the body. Yeah, so basically that's it for getting posts, creating a post, fully updating a post, and partially updating a post. And yeah, so before I jump on the delete posts, you can type in your questions in case you have like areas like you will want me to explain more. Okay, so the final one is deleting a post. So this is quite simple. You just have to send the ID of the post that you want to delete. So what you have to do here is annotate your method with delete and pass in the relative URL. So in our case, it's just post slash the ID of the post that is supposed to be deleted. And we want to automatically update this ID at runtime. So once you run the app, we want to update the URL with the correct ID that is the correct post ID that is supposed to be deleted. So come here and say path and the ID, which is just that one, and it doesn't return anything. But for us, we want to know if it's a success or not. So we want to return a response. But for this endpoint, it doesn't return like a post. So in case in any scenario endpoint doesn't return anything, you can just return unit. So this means that it doesn't return anything. So we are wrapping it in a response since we want to know if it's successful or not. Yeah, so that's it. So let's go to a repository, and for this, I'm just going to, let me just type it out so that in case somebody didn't understand. So the reason I'm doing with context is because when making requests to the network, you have to delegate these tasks in the background thread rather than the main thread, so that you can avoid your screen or your application like lagging or being slow, stuff like that. So for you to delegate that, you have to delegate that to the IO thread. So this is like the background thread. And first of all, you have to put this inside of a try catch. And in case something went wrong inside of the try catch, you can just come here and say exception. And yeah, so inside of the try catch, this is where we want to make the request to delete our post. So come here and say response. So this is the response you are getting from the server. Come here and say post service dot delete and pass in the post ID you want to delete. Then in the next line, you want to know if the request to delete this post is successful or not. So come here and say if response is successful, you want to return a success. So in our case, we are using the resource.success. And since this request doesn't return any response, just pass in unit. And yeah, so basically that's it for if in case it's successful. In case if it's not successful, we want to send a result of error. So come here and say resource.error and come and say response.message. Yeah, that's it. That's all you have to do on the try block. But in case something maybe goes wrong in the try block, it will jump to the catch block, and the catch block comes with it has the exception. So the exception carries the message, and that message is the reason why this request was not successful. So we want to return that here, return that error message to the user. So come here and say exception.message. And in case the message maybe is null or is empty, we want to return our custom message here, so an error card. So yeah, basically that's what you have to do to make an API call to the server to delete a post. Yeah, so if we go back to our view model, I'm going to explain also this part here. So since this function is done in the background thread, so it's a suspend function, you have to call this function inside of a coroutine context. And since we are in a view model, the view model offers us context inside of the view model. a coroutine context inside of the view model. So this is the view model scope.launch. And first thing we want to do is show a loading. So to show the user that the request is made and they are waiting for the response. They should be waiting for the response. And after that, selected post is when you click on a particular post here. And after that, we want to get the ID of the selected post. So once you click on here, we want to get the ID of that post and send it here when calling this function, delete post. And in case, so the delete post is what we just worked on here, passing in the ID here to the service, and Retrofit will call this endpoint method to delete the post. Then after that, it will return back a response. And if the response is a success, we are setting loading to false to show the user that the requests has finished. Then hiding this action menu. So the action menu is this dialog here, and showing a message to the user that the post was deleted successfully. Then after that, I'm getting the post. I'm calling this function to get the post. So this is what we already did in the first session, first minutes of this session. And yeah, so after that, let me go back. Yeah, so after that, in case the result, the response is an error, we are showing the user an error message that something went wrong, please try again. Yeah, so that's it. That's all we have to do. So this function is already called here in the post component. So when you click on actions menu and you click on this option to delete post, so there's a function here. So this is the block for delete. So this one here. So once you click on the delete function, it will call this delete function. And after that, it will call this callback. Then it will call delete post in the view model. So yeah, basically that's it. And if we run our application, we should be able to delete a post. So let me just come to maybe number 3. So let's go to number 3 and delete. Yeah, so the post is deleted. It's deleted. Yeah. So this is just like a dummy API. Actually, it's not like deleting from the server, but it's simulating a way of deleting. So, but the concept is just the same. So if you delete this one, it will delete successfully, and it will fetch again the list. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, that's all. That's how you can be able to fetch, to get a list. So that's the read part of the CRUD, and update a post. So that's the update part of CRUD operations, and create a post. So that's the create part of the CRUD operations, and delete a post. Yeah, so that marks the end of this hands-on walkthrough. And yeah, in case you have any questions, the floor is open. Yep.
Breens, not sure if you've seen the questions on the chat box, one by Eton, the other by Alvin.
Okay, let me just show. Okay.
I'm not sure if it's something you can answer immediately, or it's something that will take time.
Okay, so you can see the one for Eton. So what's the approach? I'll start with number 2. What's the approach to building a no refresh UI the data is always up to date. Yeah, so Eton, for that, I think the best way to do that is, I don't know if you've worked with Work Manager. So maybe you can set like a job that maybe after every maybe 6 hours or 24 hours, you can maybe call an endpoint to get new data. So I think using Work Manager for that will work. So yeah. So for number one, how to encrypt network requests using Retrofit. Yeah, so the only security thing I know about Retrofit is let me show you something. Is always using HTTPS. I think yeah, I think that's the best way, and using SSL certifications. So you can put SSL certifications inside of your Android app, Android project, so that your app knows that responses and responses coming from this server are true and not from are always coming from this server, not from any other server. So I think yeah, that's yeah, that's the only thing I know about that. Encrypting, yeah, okay. When do mappers come in handy? And also, how can you handle a scenario where you have different endpoints? When do mappers come in handy? I think mappers come in handy. Let's say, for example, let me come. Where's the post? Let me just come in. Post. So mappers come in handy. Let's say, for example, the data from your server is there's a lot of like fields here. So let's say you have like you have a lot of fields here, and maybe your UI needs maybe the title and maybe the body. So you can use a mapper to get only the necessary information you want, instead of receiving all of these unnecessary fields that maybe your application doesn't need. Yeah, so mappers come in handy in case you have unnecessary fields in your applications, in your response, I mean. And for the second one, how can you handle a scenario where you have different endpoints? So by different endpoints, do you mean like you have like different environments, maybe the production environment and maybe the testing environment? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
Alvin, maybe you can just unmute your mic and give more flesh to that.
Okay, yeah. If that is what you mean, there's a great way to do that. So let me just come here and say, this is the post service. Yeah, let me come to the retrofit client. So let's say, for example, you have you have a production URL. So let's say prod base URL. So it's something similar to that, and you have like a test one. So you can use build configs. I don't know if you've heard of build configs. So let's say, I'm not sure if it will work here, but let's say build config. So you have to set it up here. So dot build type. I'm not sure if it. So something like this. And so if build type is prod, you'll use the prod base URL. And if it's anything that is not prod, you can use the test base URL. So let's say if the prod is like this and test is like this. Yeah, so I don't know, Alvin, if I've answered your question. So you can use build config file. So the build config, I'm not sure it's not showing here, but the build config has these different flavors. So if you have set up different flavors, so the prod flavor and staging flavor, debug flavor, you can change URLs based on your APK flavor.
I see Mwasia also has a question. Breens, not sure if you've seen it.
Yeah, so how do you ensure app makes network calls only when you're connected? Yeah, so this is another session in its all. But I think you can use what was it, network manager. So there's a class called network manager. So it will show you like different scenarios if you are connected to the Wi-Fi, if you're connected to maybe data. So in case you're not connected, based on those different states, you can call your endpoints to fetch the responses you want from the server. So the network manager class can help with that. And so Brian says Retrofit doesn't play any part in encrypting or decrypting request or response. Its major functionality is sending requests and receiving responses. The encryption is up to either your own implementation or external. Yeah, I think, yeah, Brian, you're right. Yeah, so any other questions?
Aiton, I think Mambo has to have the session. So what we can do, I think I added you today to the main WhatsApp group. So maybe you can place the question there. I think Mambo is in the group in answering it. But that aside, Breens, that was a very amazing session. Very eloquent. You've mastered the topic so well. I think that's why it was easy for anyone following to follow along. A reminder to everyone that the session has been recorded. So if you had a problems getting some concepts or bits, you'll be able to follow up on the recorded session, which should be uploaded on our YouTube soon, maybe in a day or two. But we'll share that on our Twitter platform. So thank you very much, Breens. We've not had most of this. It was very insightful. Tumekuwa na amazing speakers in the past. We've had Mwasi, we've had Mambo, we've had Valentine's, we've had Eric, Sijina sa mwingine, we've had Chepsi. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time in sharing with us.
The pleasure is mine. I'm just thankful that for the people who have turned up, who've taken their time to learn. So
maybe you can share with us maybe some of the platforms that we can interact with you, Twitter, LinkedIn, and maybe YouTube.
Okay, so before that, so the repo that we've worked on, so the full source code is in this URL here. So I'm just going to paste it here. And in case you want to know more about Retrofit, it's also here. So I'm going to share these slides. And also, if you want to build upon this knowledge, I'll encourage you to go to this repository. So public APIs, look for one API, and let's say maybe a sports API that fetches maybe live scores. Use the knowledge you've gained here. But in case you hit a blocker, you can reference the repository here. So the repository worked on, and build on that. And so if you have any questions, I'm available on Twitter. So at Breens Mbaka, Breens R. and also my YouTube. So yeah, I also have like other tutorials there if you're interested. Yeah, so basically that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe I think we'll I'll share Breens YouTube channel link on our WhatsApp and Twitter platform. So if you are interested, maybe you can check later. Then the last thing, maybe Eric Wadome or Eric Wafula will be having a session on modularization next weekend. So we have an expert session on modularization next weekend. I think we'll share that as well on our X or Twitter platform. So if you're interested, maybe you can be on the look. Ama, if you're interested, you can join our WhatsApp platform. We also share a lot of resources there. We have engaging moments. So yeah, I think that's all. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Have a good night.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye bye.